So yesterday, we were driving back from Maine, and we decided to make a pit stop in Lowell, Massachusetts at a national park, and it was pretty neat. I never even knew this place was there, but apparently Lowell, Massachusetts was known for textile mills. And we went to this place there, and they had an old mill, which was all a brick building. You know what a mill looks like, right? And they used to make fabric in there out of cotton. And it was absolutely fascinating. And apparently they took railroad cars of actual raw cotton from down south and shipped them up to Massachusetts. And they processed it from literally raw material into cloth right in this mill. And the mill ran off water wheels, which came from a canal. And apparently in the 1800s, a bunch of these business people bought up all these farms, and they made a canal right through the town from the Merrimack River. And the tour guide said that the river dropped 32 feet, which gave it a lot of energy. It was over a waterfall. And there were actually like 10 different textile mills in Lowell, Massachusetts at one time that ran off this canal. So anyways, hope you enjoy the video. I found it fascinating. That's a big building, huh? It's the canal right through here. This depicts what the factory was in its heyday. You got the water coming underneath, all these water wheels, and they take the raw cotton on the first floor and turn it into, one from these machines into like little strings. Then they extrude it more to littler strings, and they somehow get it up to the top where all the things are made. But they got this exhibit here where it literally starts like this. It goes through the different processes until it comes out to the weave. Pretty neat. Some old pictures of back in the day, I guess. Yeah, must have been some crazy place. Old lathe over here. Pretty neat. Geared wheel. Pretty neat. Something cool about this place is that they have a demonstration where they actually run the equipment. So they've taken the line shafts and they've put some electric motors in because they're not using the actual water wheels anymore. And there's a lady that knows how to run all these things, and she comes out and turns them on. And she turned on maybe 15 or 16 of them, and they all start weaving and making fabric. It was fascinating. else you got to realize here. When these mills were in their heyday, it was before any safety standards, before OSHA, before any labor rules, overtime, whatever. So it was a really weird time, I guess, to work in there. And it sounded like it would have been a horrible place to actually work and try to make a living. But they said they got paid by piecemeal, meaning they're getting paid by output in square yards or however they measure fabric. And if there was a thread that was hanging or loose or something like that, they get docked on their pay and not get as much. So it sounded like a really horrible place to work, but I think that's how it was back in those days. But to me, it's just amazing to see that, what ingenuity can do to create all these machines in the first place. I guess when they first started these mills, like one person ran one machine, and she said by the end, it was like one person was overlooking 20 machines because a lot of the things got automated, particularly how the thread on the bobbin fed into the machine. Apparently at first you had to retie each bobbin into it itself, and now they came out with a thing that, if you look on the right side of the machine, there's this round thing with all these bobbins across there. That's some kind of automatic thread feeding thing, so they don't have to sit there and tie threads on. So it's pretty neat. Pretty neat. Fabric feeds into it this way, and then the other thing is going this way on the front. This is the back of the machine. They said in the heyday of the mill, there were 208 of these machines in here. 208. Pretty fascinating. The whole place was run by a water wheel. And there's a canal system that is outside this window right now. But they're doing repairs, so there's no water in it. Apparently it goes underneath the building, and there's 4 water wheels under the building that power this whole place. Pretty fascinating to me. There's other machines that wind these bobbins, I guess. So this is sending thread left and right, and the other one's going front to back, and it's weaving it together to make the fabric. The fabric is kind of coarse, but the lady said that they actually took train cars of cotton here, and they had machines that would make the yarn right out of the cotton and do this whole entire process in these buildings. She said at one point there were 10 companies in Lowell, Massachusetts that did weaving, or they call them mills. But all this stuff here is made in Massachusetts, Hopedale, Mass. Let's say Draper Corporation, Hopedale, Mass. Pretty fascinating. Huh. Cool stuff. What the lady was saying was that with all innovation and improvements in technology, you need less workers. So it ends up that people got displaced or laid off. There was no unemployment back then, nothing like that. So it kind of led to the demise of the whole area with laying people off. Then eventually, when electric motors became more prevalent, whatever, they moved all these mills down south so they were closer to the actual cotton source. So now they don't have to spend the money to ship cotton by rail from Florida or Georgia or wherever it was created all the way to Massachusetts, just making things more efficient. So it's kind of fascinating, and it's a lot similar to today's challenges of manufacturing as well. Here's the electric motors they have in here today that are powering these line shafts. Pretty cool. Pretty neat. With the 2 motors powering the line shaft. We've got 2 other ones over there. Yeah, they're Westinghouse motors. I see a big W on the end there. Pretty neat. Neat old stuff here. Making some kind of stripe in this thing. I don't know what it is, but over here they got another machine here that has to wind all these bobbins on there with all the thread onto those things. Oh, that's pretty neat. once they had the finished cotton fabric out of this facility, it usually got bought by somebody else and processed further. They could dye it, or they called them bleacheries back in the day, and that could add color to it or prints to it, and people could actually refine the fabric more and make it into a finer weave, is what they were saying. But anyways, it's pretty fascinating to me. And this place went out of business, I think they said in the 1940s, but it's a really cool place. The original mill that was there went out of business, and everything that was in it was gone. In like 1992, I think they said, the National Park Service took this over, and they actually found somebody selling all of these, I think they call them weaving machines or looms, I'm not sure. They actually found someone selling all these things, and they bought, I think she said there's 88 of them, and they put them in the facility to make it look like it would have back in the day. And the cool thing is that they're made in Massachusetts, which would have been historically correct for the mill. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're ever up there, check it out. It's only like 3 or 4 miles off of Route 495, so if you're ever going up to New Hampshire or Maine and you're on 495, take this little detour and check this place out. It was very cheap to get in there. It was like $4 a person admission or something. There's also a trolley that you can take, and there's a streetcar museum. We didn't have enough time to check all those out, but I highly recommend it. It was a really cool place.